Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams here with my friend and pastor Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and share this with a friend on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Also, please rate and review or both on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you, trying to get better like us. And visit leadinghope.online to get updates, find out more about the Leading Hope community. Pastor Kevin, you have titled
pulling out the pastor
two.
Word
Yeah,
today.
this one. Well, this is a very, very intense episode.
Very intense episode.
It's a very
Alrighty,
intense, and you have like a very pastoral shirt on too. And it's you look you're a beautiful man. You're a beautiful man.
What is happening?
But here's what I'm serious. This is when I read this, I was like, oh, he's gonna get serious. Like he's gonna get serious on us.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
But it's episode 236, outcome thinking.
Outcome thinking.
That's serious.
So what I want to get into today is thinking limitations that we have, and the ways in which not just that we need to learn like a new skill or a new idea, but it's literally from the sense of like the way that's like a hard thing to tell someone, just to be like, it's not that you're wrong, it's how you think is wrong. Which sounds crazy from the standpoint.
A little bit.
There's a great book. It's called How to Think Like an Engineer. And it just goes through the process and just like how engineers view problems is completely different from how most people view problems. Because most people view problems as a nuisance. They're looking for a solution and the way in which they get underneath those pieces. But it's just like, it's a fascinating piece just to be like, hey, you need to change how you think about this thing to begin with. And so my hope in this episode is just to really... Honestly, it feels like a really simple shift, but it seems to take a long time for it to set in.
Yeah.
And for people to shift from input thinking to outcome thinking.
It's good.
And we have a series coming up. So this is kind of fun background for me. Is the series is titled "And Here's Why." And it came about, I was reading through Paul's letters to Timothy and Titus, and these are like younger people who he's mentoring in the faith. And as he's these are things I've read my whole life. And I'm reading them, and I just had the realization of to go, oh my goodness, I'm no longer Timothy or Titus. I'm now Paul. Like, I'm not in the position of the person who's brand new into this whole thing, needing that instruction. I'm now the person who's been in it for a while.
Yeah.
And so I had this thought of, what if we did a series on the book of Titus from the perspective of Paul?
Yeah.
But then I was like, wow, that would be way too much like conjecture. That'd be way too much like interpretation to say, this is what Paul was really after as he's writing all these things. And then I realized as I was going through the letter that over and over again throughout the letter, he'll give an instruction. And then he literally writes these words. He says, so that. And then he gives what the instruction is meant to lead to.
It's good.
And it's like, oh my goodness, like he told us what he was after.
Yeah.
He like actually spelled it out. This is the outcome that I want. And I think like even as we read the Bible, we all focus on input instead of outcome. And especially when they list the outcome, we need to be able to connect and then go, is the thing that I'm doing leading to the thing that it's supposed to do?
It's good.
And so here's where, if I could just give like the part of like for most of us that are goal setters that see desired future and all these other pieces, where I think it falls apart. And so like it starts with this idea, here's what I want to accomplish. This is my goal, or this is my desired outcome, right? Like just real basic to goal setting. Here's what I want to accomplish. And then next, hopefully 98% of us put the next phrase of like, in order to do that, here's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Here's the activities I need to engage in. Here's the behaviors I need to model. Here's the process I need to implement. And so it's just like, here's the thing that I want. And so here is what I need to do in order to get that.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the review part, we go, did I do what I set out to do? And I hope this isn't confusing over just the audio. But like we just go, did I do what I set out to do?
Right.
And there's this other piece that goes, did what you set out to do accomplish what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah.
And I really think we have to hold ourselves for the discipline of activity, but we must also be mindful of, is the activity leading to the outcome that we desire?
Yeah.
And too often we turn, like, I'll hear people say, you need to think process, not goals. You need to focus on process, not goals. And I understand what they're saying, of just saying, like, lofty goals have no traction if they're not connected to a process. But the reality is we need to think process and goals.
Yeah.
We cannot just obsess on the activity, because for most of us, we're actually, honestly, we're not fantastic planners. Like, I don't know why we assume that how we view the world is like we're in tune enough with what is going on in the world that we're able to automatically connect activity to outcome from just an ideation phase.
Yeah.
And so just that piece of saying, like, we have to shift our thinking to, we must be obsessed about outcome, because I really believe that when you're focused on outcome, not only does that help you modify input and get better at planning, because you're able to tie activity a little better to the outcome that you're after, but also that's where innovation comes from. There are more ways to get at the result you want to get at than the way you've been doing it.
Yeah.
And if you're not obsessed about outcome, the reality is like, you're not going to find new innovations. You're not going to find new creative ways to get there that might be better than what you're currently doing, because you're too focused on input.
Yeah. That's good. Outcome thinking, it's not loosely, it's directly, tied to any kind of goal setting, however you do that. Generally, I mean, it's almost, I would think, impossible to just have outcome thinking outside of no outcome. Like,
yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want to be a better person.
Yeah.
Okay. Define it. Then you get the process. That's the and, right?
Yeah.
And then you ask the question, did it work?
Exactly. And we don't ever ask that.
No.
Like, I feel like we get stuck in this. Did we? And so we think, like, we're disciplined. Did we do what we set out to do? It's a great question. You just also need to ask, did it work?
Did it work? Did it work? Did it work? And we don't like that question, because if it didn't work, we're failures.
Yeah.
Right? No. But that's what
Correct.
we think. And that's
Correct.
why when you set this up, and I obviously don't read these notes before. I get them right as we start. And I'm looking at them now as like, oh, is he going to, because part of it is, did it work, is the other side of the cliche stinking thinking, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I can't accomplish anything. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you don't ask the question anyway.
Yeah. When we only think outcome, what we're showing is a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
When we only think input, we're showing that we're unwilling to actually confront our reality.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I was just say, like, it's a blow to go, hey, I'm gonna go through this like heavy, difficult process to get to this outcome. I'm going to work hard and do all these difficult things. And then to come to the end of it and to go, I was as disciplined as I intended to be, and I did everything I set out to do.
Right.
But it did not achieve the result that I was after.
Well, yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. It's real hard.
But I think, like, the ultimate thing that I just want, like, people to be able to sit in is to go, wouldn't you rather know it didn't work than to do it more than once and for it not to work?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you rather be aware of the reality that this is not the outcome that you're after?
Yeah.
So we've talked about this, like, as we've gone through goal setting, because, like, we shared that, like, we don't do SMART goals.
Right.
We do SUM goals.
Yep.
Which I think is fun. Just
Specific, outcome-based, measurable, exciting.
Yeah. And, like, on the outcome-based piece of the SUM goals is just to say, like, don't just tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you're going to do, what it does. Sorry, I stumbled over that because of so many do's. But to say, like, don't just tell me the activity you're engaged in. Tell me the outcome that the activity that you're engaging in will achieve. And most people, they just don't apply that level of discipline to their thinking,
Right.
to say, this is what I'm actually after. And in doing that, you become a better planner by continuously reviewing it.
Yeah. The exercise of some goals in outcome thinking in general is it's tedious at first because it makes you think differently.
Yeah.
And it's not natural. Like your natural, maybe it is to some. I should wind that back. Maybe this is naturally how people are wired. I have seen that it's not. I've only seen people that there's three categories for me. It's hey, I don't have any aspirations, I just want to live. That's fine. Like that's one group. Then I have the hey, I can tell you everything I do.
Yeah.
This is what I do. Right? With no what for.
Yeah.
So that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have the other group, which is the group that I'm trying to become, which is, hey, I can tell you what I'm doing, but I can tell you why and what it's going to actually accomplish in the future and the date of which that's going to happen and what that actually accomplishing that's going to happen after that.
And I think that's the, within what you listed is, I hope, a really important qualifier for people to be able to self-diagnose.
Yeah.
And to say, like, outcome thinking is a discipline and a skill that should be constant in what you're doing. And so, like, what I have found is that people who really live into outcome thinking, when they think about their day, they naturally think about what they accomplished, not their activity.
Yeah.
They think of the results that came from the work that they did, not the work that they did.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a matter of like, hey, what'd you do today? And they can go, well, I moved this forward. I got this completed. I did this that'll help train this. Versus, I had a whole bunch of meetings, got a little bit of work done here. Like, you see the distinction on those two?
Yeah.
Just to say, like, they naturally think, this is what I'm doing, this is what it accomplishes, versus simply, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, just maybe simplifying this a little bit. We started working out with Caleb.
Yeah.
I don't know what was, how many weeks? 8 weeks? 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, something like that.
If, for me, and I'm just going to tell about if I already have a goal. I already know the goal is. It's so that I can get into the same shirts that I currently, like, this is simplified.
I like
goal,
this.
Right?
I like this goal.
I'm not trying to make this crazy. I'm not trying to be like He-Man. That's a really old reference.
Whoa!
How about that? Do you remember He-Man?
I mean, barely. But
yeah. Yeah. Hey, shout out to us 40 plus people. But I'm not. That's not my goal. Do I want to be a little stronger? But I'm not writing that down.
Yeah.
That's a natural. Like it's impossible not to get stronger if you're lifting weights. Like it's impossible. Pretty much. Right? Like unless you're just not lifting them right. Like there's a number of things. Let's just assume that you're lifting.
There we go.
You're
I'm good
getting
with that.
stronger. That's not my goal. My goal is I have a bunch of clothes in my closet that when I put on, I laugh at myself. I'm like, oh, you're fat.
Yeah.
Right? My goal is that I can get into those shirts and I feel like I look like I should with this kind of shirt on.
Yeah.
It's a simplified goal. That's outcome based. I don't want to laugh in the mirror.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think we overcomplicate this strategy sometimes. Correct. It's like, oh, I need to have 5.5 abs. Which is funny. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no. I just need to get into those shirts. Now, if for some reason after we've been doing this 6 months, 8 months, and I'm not seeing anything, I'm not feeling any better, I'm not, the shirts I try on, I don't, I'm not going to keep doing it.
Correct.
I'm going to try something else.
So here's what I find, not just personally, but organizationally, the trade that people make is they will seek to find a more efficient process instead of a more effective outcome.
Yeah.
And so it's just like when work is a lot or there's a number of steps, it's just like, well, what if instead we did it like this? And to go, it's more efficient. It's easier to carry out, especially internally on our end. is it more effective?
Yeah.
Is it leading to something? And I can remember like one of the easiest ways was we got.
But did it work?
Yeah. But you go,
Right.
is like when we first started implementing, you can get baptized every week.
Yeah.
That was way more inefficient. That was way more cumbersome. That was way more difficult.
Yeah.
Per workflow.
Per everything.
And it was like, it was easy to be like, to dismiss it.
Yeah.
But to go, this is more effective.
Right.
And our responsibility is not efficiency.
Right.
Our responsibility is effectiveness.
Right.
And we will be as efficient as we can without
While
sacrificing
the
effectiveness.
Yes.
And so what happens is when you're not thinking in terms of outcome, people naturally think how to make their life easier instead of how to make something more significant and something important actually more meaningful.
It happens every day.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the pinnacle of leadership, is to help people see why being more effective is better than just efficiency in general.
Which is the piece that is so important within this. So then we go is so like the leader has to train themselves to naturally train themselves where they're constantly thinking about outcomes.
Yep. And that's not something that happens overnight.
Correct.
You have to build up to that, and you need to be in environments that teach that, and environments that hold that as a cultural value.
Yep.
Because if not, it's a tough place to start on your own.
Yeah. And so here would be my encouragement to people, just kind of like place to start, is to say, and this may seem like a little tedious and unnecessary in terms of process. What I want to do is I want to give a practical thing for the person who feels like they struggle in outcome thinking is what this is really about. It's about imagining the future that is created based upon the decision that is made. This is just going, if we do this, what will happen, and what will happen, and what will happen, and what is the impact? Not just the immediate short-term impact, but the longer range impact. So Toyota came up with this Edwards Deming in process like identification, and it was 5 whys. And I imagine most people are at least somewhat familiar with it, but if you're not, the idea is like anytime you face a problem, do not solve the problem at the surface. Solve the deeper problem that is really causing it. Otherwise, you'll just create new problems. So it's like anytime you have a problem, you ask why. You have to ask why 5 times. And by 5, hopefully you're at the root problem. I think outcome thinking is doing a so what or a so that for the decisions that are made.
Yeah.
Like when we make a decision, okay, we made the decision so that what will happen? Okay, so if that happens, so that what will happen?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I think it's a perspective tilt or a shift too of the thinking of I'm not really trying to fix a problem as much as I'm trying to change the way I operate.
Yeah, and so if I could say, one of the things I hear a lot of church leaders, and I'm sure this happens in all organizations, but like we need better leadership development.
Yeah.
Cool. So that what?
Yeah.
We have more leaders. Cool. So that what? So that we're able to seize new opportunities. Cool. So that what is the new opportunity? Because once you're aware of what you need to develop the leader for, it radically changes how you develop the leader.
Yeah.
And if you don't go through that process and think in terms of the actual outcome that you're after, what will happen is you'll have a leadership development program that is now just there to replace the burnout leaders that you already have.
Yep.
There you go. That's not what you were actually after. You were after something else, but you have to connect it to the outcome to understand that.
Do you know any large organizations that do that currently? That would create environments like that, or some that we would be able to help with that not happening.
What's happening?
I mean, that's an interesting question for me. Is like, what can we do to help make sure that doesn't exist outside of a podcast?
Right now, that is the best we can do without naming names and calling people out. And
No. Sorry, no naming names, but like practically thinking, because outside of outcome thinking, there's got to be opportunities opportunities for us to make sure that we can help people see this as a way forward.
Yeah.
There's got to be opportunities for us. So I'm interested in that. I'm really interested in that because here's why it's interesting to me personally. I was in the corporate world for so long, and I saw people's careers. I saw one right after the other just drop out.
Yeah.
Drop out. They were programmers, designers, all kinds of different, program managers. All those people just drop out, and they just got to a point. All they were doing was living for the next paycheck, so they can continue coming to work.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's.
Yeah.
I don't think that's desirable for anybody.
And I think if you don't have outcome thinking, your best chance is you stumble into success.
Yeah.
If you have outcome thinking, all you need is time.
Yeah.
You'll eventually hit success.
That's great.
Over enough time, you're guaranteed to get it because you'll keep modifying the process until you find what works.
That's awesome.
Good.
Are we out of time? We're out of time. Look at that.
Oh.
You want to wrap it up, or you just wrap it up?
That was it. That was a great line.
That's good. I like it. All right, 236, Outcome Thinking. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you, trying to get better like us. We love hearing your stories, how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online and send that to us. We would love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count. Woo!